Heaven Official's Blessing. Tian Guan Ci Fu by Mo Xiang Tong Xiu. Chapter 20. Heavenly Palace Raid. A short salutation to scare the gods. There was a confusion of twinkling silver light, and Xie unthinking reaction was to block with his hand. Yue, who was always wrapped around his wrist, would attack automatically if dire circumstance required it. Yet not a single silver butterfly attacked him. Instead, they just flew around him to furiously charge the two behind, who had been fighting just moments before. Fengxian and Muxing had suffered before at the hands of those wraith butterflies. They knew how powerful they were and didn't dare be careless. In only a blink, they both raised their hands and at the same time cried, "Shield!" Millions of silver butterflies surged toward them, flapping their wings to summon blasting winds. But there was an invisible wall blocking them. The butterflies smashed against it like a tempest. Like the battering of hail, and white lights flared from the friction with fiery sparks. The two had cast a spell to protect themselves, but even against a magical shield, the wraith butterflies were forceful and relentless, as crazed as moths confronting a flame. Despite mounting that spiritual defense, the two were pushed back by the restless barrage of butterflies. A moment of carelessness would give the enemy the upper hand. If they didn't release the shield, the butterflies would continue to push closer. If they did, there'd still be no chance for them to grab their weapons before the swarm overtook them. Both Fengxian and Muting mentally groaned, gritting their teeth to hang on. Fengxian stole a glance and saw Xie was still standing right where he had been, with his head lowered, not knowing what was wrong. He shouted to him, "Your Highness, be careful! Don't just stand there, come behind the shield!" And yet when Xie turned his head, not a single hair upon it had been harmed. He frowned. Huh? The two looked closely and almost spat blood from their furious shock. Xie was staring at them in blank confusion, a wraith butterfly held in one hand. Earlier, when the butterflies were gusting through like wild winds, there was one that was a little slow and couldn't keep up with the rest. As it flapped arduously in front of Xie, he had a simple thought. That poor silver butterfly was working really hard, but it couldn't fly anymore. So he unthinkingly extended his palm just beneath it, wings flapping happily. That silver butterfly had landed on his palm now and wouldn't leave. Both Fengxian and Muting popped veins on their foreheads. "Don't touch that thing with your hand! Don't you know what it is? It's dangerous!" Just then, Xie felt a tightening on his wrist. Someone had grabbed a hold of him and pulled hard. His entire body was drawn into the darkness beyond the door. Although he was shrouded in darkness, he didn't feel any alarm or anxiety. The darkness was like a layer of gentle armor. Not only did he not sense any danger, it actually somehow calmed him down. Even if the person within the darkness hadn't shown himself, with those silver butterflies, was it so hard to guess? Muting cried in disbelief. "What audacity! You dare cause mischief in that heavenly court? What impudence!" A voice laughed. "We're all the same. Weren't you heavenly officials of the upper court equally impudent of my territory?" Even though Xie already knew who had grabbed him, he was still a little startled to hear that familiar voice so close by. Fengxian shouted, "Huachang! The Heavenly Emperor is here in the Heavenly Court. You let him go!" Huachang clicked his tongue. "Do either of you have the ability to make me?" With that taunting question, the giant doors closed heavily with a bang. Xie sensed a hand gripping his wrist firmly, guiding him swiftly along. It was as pitch black all around them, and silver bells on those black boots chimed in his ears. The ground beneath their feet was uneven. The doors hadn't led them to the bright, open, great roads of the heavenly capital, but rather to a remote mountain valley. Huachang must have used the teleportation array to connect the front entrance of the Palace of Xianle to this mountain valley, but how did he do it? One would surely have to be a heavenly official to be in a position to do that, no? Xilian was about to speak when a voice exploded in his ear. Your Highness, where are you? It was Feng Xin. His voice was by his ear, but his person was not. He had shouted from within the communication array. Xialian's eardrums hurt from the noise, and were further blasted by terrified voices of several other heavenly officials. What's going on? Did something happen? Mutsing also entered the communication array. Bad news. Where's Ling Wen? Report to the Emperor. Xialian ran off. He usually spoke gently and courteously, but now there was a flustered tinge to his voice. Ling Wen reacted immediately. What? I'll go to the palace of Xianle to take a look. An official cried in shock. His Highness ran off. Wasn't he detained to the palace of Xianle? Shi Qingxuan entered the communication array. I just saw a bunch of junior officials in the middle court guarding the palace. You can only enter but not leave. How can you run off? Feng Xin exclaimed. What do you mean, ran off? Stop adding to the confusion. Well, he ran off with someone, Mu Qing said. He was kidnapped, Feng Xin clarified angrily. Your Highness, can you still hear us? Where are you right now? In that moment, everyone was speaking with raised voices, and everyone was demanding answers. Once Ling Wen confirmed that the palace of Xianle was empty, she began searching for Xialian's present location, and Shi Qingxuan distributed further flurries of merits. The communication array was thrown into complete confusion, everyone trying to talk at once. It was so chaotic that Xialian couldn't get a word in at all. He drew in a deep breath, but just as he was about to match the shouting and tell everyone to calm down, Huachang suddenly turned around and reached over with 2 fingers. Those cold digits touched his temple, and Huachang chuckled. A long time no see. How's everyone doing? With a soft touch of his 2 fingers, Huachang entered the heavenly communication array through Xialian. That nonchalant greeting was heard not just by Xialian beside him, but every flustered heavenly official within the communication array. Instantly, they fell into a dead silence. There was a silent uproar. No wonder. Such arrogance could only come from that person. Huachang continued. I don't know if you missed me, but I haven't thought about any of you at all. There were certainly many heavenly officials in the heavens who secretly thought about him every day, but when they heard Huatong say he didn't think about them at all, they began reciting scriptures to pray that the man would continue not thinking about them going forward. Then Huatong snickered gleefully. However, I've been fairly free recently. If anyone is feeling bored and wants to chat with me, I welcome them with open arms. Given the circumstances, the meaning of that statement was more than obvious. If anyone is brave enough to give chase, they'll be the next one I challenge. It was a challenge they were certain to lose. He would surely wipe the floor with him. Was it not a blatant threat? The communication array had previously been boiling with excitement, and some martial gods were even proactively ready to heed the call, prepared to give chase. However, with only a short salutation from Huatang, all such passion disappeared. No one wanted to be remembered by Huatang, and so they all pretended they weren't present, even while their ears remained closely tuned in to follow this development. At the same time, their minds were rolling with stormy waves. Such impertinence from that crimson rain-sought flower, to come all the way to the upper court just to kidnap someone, and not just anyone, but the laughingstock of the 3 realms who was already in hot water. Silence befell the communication array. Only Feng Xin was still swearing angrily. Huatong removed his fingers as soon as he was done speaking. Xialian blurted out, Sanlang. Huatong, however, let go of his hand. Don't mind them, he said to Xialian. Come with me. His voice was low, the emotion behind it hard to discern, yet the way he let go of Xialian's wrist was swift, almost like he'd been shaken off. Xialian was immediately reminded of the first time they met and how he'd evaded his touch. Xialian froze on the spot. At first, he had wanted to ask Huatong why he had appeared so suddenly. He vaguely thought that maybe Huatong had known about his house arrest and had come to his rescue. But when he called out San Lang a moment before, he was secretly a little happy. But with the way Huatong had just shaken off his touch, Xialian abruptly realized, how could he think Huatong would come to rescue him? He just burned down Paradise Manor and the armory. Wasn't it more plausible that Huatong had come knocking to settle the score or for payback? Even if in the end the reason Paradise Manor had burned the way it did was because Xie Qingxuan had fanned the flames, he was the one who kindled the fire. The pair walked, one behind the other. The more Xialian thought, the guiltier he felt. Sanlang, I'm sorry. He apologized in spite of himself. Huatong suddenly paused in his step. Why are you apologizing? The reason I went to Ghost City was to investigate the missing Earthmaster. I didn't tell you the full truth, so that counts as a lie. And you treated me with utmost hospitality, but I burned down your Paradise Manor and the armory full of your treasures. So I'm very sorry. Huatong didn't speak. Xielian also knew that very sorry really didn't amount to much and added, but I expect I'll be banished soon. After I descend to the mortal realm, I'll definitely think of a way to repay you and see if I can. Why should you have to repay me? Huatong interrupted. His tone was a little harsh, as if he couldn't listen anymore, and he abruptly turned around. Did you forget that my blade wounded your arm? I hurt you, not the other way around. Why should you have to repay me? Xielian had almost forgotten the injury to his right arm. He was a little taken aback before he remembered. My arm? My arm's fine. It doesn't hurt. It'll be better soon. Besides, it's only like this because I charged and struck back against you. You aren't to blame in the first place. Huatong stared at him hard, his left eye unusually bright. Xielian noticed that he seemed to be shaking. A brief moment later, he realized it wasn't Huatong shaking, but the scimitar Ming at his waist. That silver scimitar, hung over the red robes, was shaking nonstop. The eye upon it, shaped by silver lines, was also quivering. It was, if it were the eye of a child, then that child was clearly bawling.